Hello, all of you vaingloriously wonderful people. This is the Overflod Entity XF, and I'm about to find out if it'll off-road. This is the second most voted for vehicle this week, coming in with 53 votes. Of course, you can vote for the vehicles that you want to see by clicking on the link in the description down below. And if you're a Patreon supporter, your votes could possibly count double. So that's right, you can rig the vote even quicker. Anyways, Entity XF. If you have been a fan of my channel for a decent length of time, then you probably know that this is my favorite car in GTA Online. I know I don't drive it as often as some of my other vehicles, but it is still my absolute favorite car. I have a lot of history with the Entity, in fact. When I first started playing GTA Online, it was the first supercar that I bought. Because at the time, it and the Zentorno were pretty much how you want to race. There weren't a whole lot of other choices for supercars. And I went with the Entity because I just didn't want the Zentorno at the time. I wanted to go with the Entity. I liked the Zentorno, but I wanted the Entity. And I fell in love with the car. Oh dear, we almost drove it off the mountain. It's very lightweight, so that's something you have to be careful of when racing, because it will go flying up and over bouncy, bumpy things, so you gotta be careful. And then that's an issue that we're running into here as I drive up the mountain. But yeah, the Entity is one of my favorite cars. It's also one of the cars that caused me to finally break away from that trend of having like one paint scheme for all of my cars. A lot of players do that where they're like, oh hey, I like this paint combination, I'm gonna do it on everything I own. And that's fine, I suppose, but eventually you come across that one car that it just doesn't work on. And this was among a couple of cars that the paint scheme just didn't work on that I was starting to acquire. And so I really started getting into designing my cars in GTA Online, and well, you're looking at one of my favorite designs as well. I think that I nailed this. I get a lot of compliments from everybody who sees my Entity, and I really enjoy it. I love the car. As you can see, because of its all-wheel drive nature and powerful engine, it just goes right up the mountain. Not a really big struggle. It's just the lightweight causes it to want to bounce around a little bit. So as long as you're aware of that in the bumpy bits and are expecting it, you should do okay. We're going to get a really good time, as you can tell, out of this car. Not quite high enough to take over the first place, because our first place car is one of the Desert Raid or Trophy Truck, whatever, in like 2 minutes 30 seconds. This is going to make it 2 minutes 42 seconds. So will the Entity off-road? Yes. Yes, it will. And it makes me very happy that it will, because such a great car. And if you're wondering where that puts it in like the overall standings, that is now the second quickest supercar of Mount Chiliad. Only beat out by like about a second, maybe a second and a half, by the X80 Proto. And it makes it the 8th overall quickest to get to the top of Mount Chiliad. And so that's up there with some bikes and some off-road vehicles and one helicopter. So not too bad from the Entity at all to be in that top 10. It's a pretty rarefied air there. So the control descent is just going to be a matter of, once again, dealing with the lightweight on the bumps. That's really all it's going to come down to. This car has fantastic handling, fantastic traction, and very good brakes. Very good brakes. So it should be all right. It should be easy enough to keep under control. The main challenge will be not getting too greedy with it and getting too overconfident and winding up having the car go flying off the side of the mountain. So that's what I'm shooting for. And we'll see what happens here. Over the uneven bit, didn't quite get far enough over to really test it on that. So let's see how we do on this first small jump. Little front heavy, bounced a little off that wall there. Ooh, got a little close to the edge. But nothing too tragic that couldn't be recovered easily. Winding down to another jump, and really rough landing again. I'm wondering how much of these rough landings are due to just the light weight, just having the car just not really have anything to want to make it plant. And wow, we got it completely backwards on that one. Get turned around here. There we go. We got room. Keep going down the mountain, coming up for our final big jump here. Trying to shave off some of that speed so it doesn't get too far out of control. Not wanting to stay too flat. Wanted to go over the edge, but look at all that grip. It's 80% rear-wheel drive, 20% front-wheel drive, so as those back wheels were down that hill, it just pushed it right back up. And the front wheels helped out a little bit. Continuing down our final straightest trail. Coming down to the last bit of dirt. Oh, managed to get too much speed coming into that turn. Gonna come around the tree of mini crashes, but once again, avoid it. Tree of mini crashes hasn't claimed a victim in a long, long time. And a couple hikers in the way, but they were spared. We are down on tarmac. Well, sort of, if I could keep it on the road. Now it's just a matter of navigating these final twisty bits here. Which brings us down to the bottom of Mount Chiliad, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. So that means it's now time to take the Entity back to the top of Mount Chiliad at a lovely sunset. Fling it off the side of this mountain and see how much damage this thing takes. Since this is one of the older cars, I mean, it's not original to the game, but it was an early DLC car. It does have a pretty good damage model in the game. So, you know, the body panels bend and distort instead of just get scratches to show damage. So we should see some accurate damage reflected here. Of all kinds of doors and trunks and hoods and things like that opening up. Of course, we've already lost a door. You can see it flying there ahead of us. The car does not want to stay on its wheels at all. With such a low center of gravity, that's kind of surprising, honestly. Usually the cars with a really low center of gravity are real easy to keep on their wheels, but not today. The Entity just wants to keep flipping over. Still chasing the driver's door down and into a tree. Ow. Not sure why my health is so low. When did that happen? Is that from one of these car accidents? I'm not sure. Almost had a barrel roll going to that one, but instead we went into kind of a kick flip instead. Into our first tunnel. And now we go into the really muddy, really bumpy stuff. See how that lightweight can handle it. Oop, right into an embankment. Awesome. And an embankment? No, it would be a pillar. Yeah, see, it's just getting thrown all around in this really bumpy stuff. I mean, it gets traction when I need it to, as you can see there. I didn't struggle to get traction to get going again, but the lightweight, oh man, kicked right into that. Look at that. But we are down for the damage descent. 1 minute, 44 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage. Most of the lights and windows are gone. The left door is gone. It has severe body damage and bent wheels. And I believe I also saw the front bumper kind of broken loose, so I need to add that to my list. It'll be added by the time you see the video. But that brings us to our next vehicle, the Nagasaki Blazer Lifeguard Edition. This is the most voted for vehicle coming in this week, with, depending on how you look at it, either 131 votes, or, because a Patreon supporter wanted to use their Patreon support to double the votes, 262 votes when you double it out. So quite a few votes for this thing. This is my personal vehicle and won't be for much longer. Matter of fact, by the time this video goes long, I will have probably sold it off, so I need the garage space. But the Lifeguard Blazer is one that you can steal and you can keep. It's pretty easy to get it to spawn, honestly. Just head to the beach early in the morning, around like 4 a.m. And kind of go down towards the area by the pier, where sometimes the Sand King spawns, but just there between those big ramps. And a lot of times you'll see just a regular four-wheeler sitting out there. Grab that, get on it, drive up and down the beach. Eventually, you will see the Lifeguard Blazer either being driven by a lifeguard or just parked outside of one of the lifeguard stands down on Del Perro Beach. So, as you can tell, though, the Lifeguard Blazer is struggling. This thing I don't think is made for this sort of off-roading. I think it's really made, you know, more for beach patrol, which makes sense given, you know, it's a lifeguard vehicle. Oh, there we go. Supposed to be saving lives, and we just tried to take one. But there you go. You can see it ran out of steam because we ran over that guy. And now it doesn't want to go at all. So I'm trying to get turned around. And it just doesn't want to go. So we're going to let it go downhill, let gravity help us a little bit. Going to try to get a little bit of a run up by using the hill to push us forward. And then see if we can't get this thing to climb. Because, well, surely, even though it doesn't have the most power, this thing can get on the side of the mountain, right? I mean, right? You'd think so. It is an ATV. Again, an ATV geared for the beach. But look at that massive ground clearance on this thing. You sit higher up in this than you do most cars in GTA. So, with that type of ground clearance, it's supposed to have some off-roading credibility here. But so far, that is proving to not be the case, as I'm trying to just go somewhere that I can find where the engine's power can start pushing this thing forward instead of backwards. And what it's coming down to, this is full throttle, believe it or not. It's going to come down to handbrake, let off the handbrake. Handbrake, let off the handbrake. And I have to do that all the way up the mountain. So we're speeding up the footage because I don't really want to sit here and try to narrate the entire time that this thing takes to get to the top. So yeah, spoiler, obviously, it's going to make it, but it's an embarrassing turnout for an off-road vehicle. But you can see all the times that it just stopped. That's not me hitting the brakes. You can see the brake light never came on. That is just the four-wheeler just running out of steam. The Blazer just not having the power to keep moving itself forward. So I had to hit the handbrake, keep the engine revved, and then use that. Basically, it's kind of like popping the clutch. Except I'm not trying to start a vehicle. I'm just trying to get the thing moving. And yeah, it just, even right here, I had to do it. And there again, it's just kind of sad. So you can see now why I sped this footage up 5 times. Gonna go ahead and slow it back down here as we're up near the top, because what amazes me is this next bit. After all that struggle we just had, look at this. It's like, really? Why couldn't you just do that the whole way up the mountain? But it is finally up. 7 minutes, 8 seconds. Will the Blazer Lifeguard Edition off-road? Yes, of course it will, but not very well. In fact, it is dead last in off-road vehicles by over 3.5 minutes. Let that sink in there. The next slowest vehicle is still 3.5 minutes, or half the time of this one. Kind of sad. But we're now going to take it for our controlled descent and see how it does. Not really expecting anything out of the ordinary. You know, about the only thing you really have to deal with on these things is watching your turning radius, because, you know, they will want to spin around on you a little bit. Though this one is just rear-wheel drive, so it's not as bad. And, of course, it's a lightweight. Like we had with the Entity. Anything lightweight wants to bounce up and down. So yeah, it's just a matter of driving at this point. Sorry, I was checking, probably heard my phone make a little Twitter noise. Somebody asking me what they need to live stream on Twitch. Tell you what, I'm not Google. Go look it up yourself. Hey, you have a YouTube channel and you're moving to Twitch. Why don't you just do all the work for me by setting it up? No. I had to do my own research, so guess what? You do too. I will come to your live stream once you have it set up and let you know what I think of it. But I'm not going to do the legwork of telling you how to get it all going. Nobody helped me. And I didn't want anybody to help me, because I wanted to figure it out so that I knew how it all worked. So anyways, you can see the Blazer's actually been effortless to get back downhill. It lands nice on the jumps. It doesn't want to stay flat, but that's okay, because it's easy to get it to go right back down to the ground once we're down. But all these jumps are simple, and the suspension just absorbs them. It's not spinning out of control. I mean, it's, for as much as it struggled to get up the mountain, the downhill part has been phenomenal, which makes me, again, come back to the point, since this is the Lifeguard edition of the Blazer, clearly not meant for hill climbing, meant for more, you know, off-roading on the beach and things like that. And you can see by the way it's handled all this going back down the mountain. That's where it would really shine. And you know, so if Overflod Off-Road was tested on beaches, well, this would probably have done much better, but it's not, so it didn't. But we are on tarmac again, where we don't have too much elevation change remaining. Just more hikers to scare a little bit. But we are finally down. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. So let's take this thing back to the top and pray it doesn't explode, because there is no modification you can do to this. You can't put insurance on it. You can't upgrade the engine. You can't put armor on it. You cannot do a thing to the Blazer. And, of course, I don't want to fall off because I don't want to die. But, well, it happened anyway. But I didn't die, but look at the thing just keep going. Down a very, very steep ravine. I was checking to see if I had a parachute because I'm hoping I could jump off the edge of this rock. But nope. Yeah, not going to happen. So we're calling it a DNF on our damage descent because, honestly, this went on for another... Well, right now the video is 16 minutes long. And my current footage that I have out, that I have not edited back down yet, goes on for another 13 minutes before I finally just gave up. I never did make it alive to the Blazer. It's just too steep right here on this part of the mountain. And I know Rocket's right there and his Sand King, and I could have just gotten in, but you got to remember one of the rules of Overflod Off-Road, I can't have any assistance. I have to be able to do it all under the vehicle's power and my own power. I can't have anybody help me. So, on the final death there, we're going to go ahead and call the Blazer not a total loss, just kind of missing in action because I can't really get to it. And don't forget, you can go vote for the vehicles that you want to see featured in Overflod Off-Road by clicking on the link in the description down below. Until next time, I'm Brandon, reminding you to stay vainglorious.